Can I have your attention, please? This is last call for public speakers. If you've not turned your card in, now would be the time. Thank you.
I now call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order at 7:11 p.m. Can you please call the roll?
Ms. Pearson?
Present.
Ms. Chavez? Ms. McCall?
Present.
Ms. Bennett?
Here.
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Ms. Haley?
Here.
Ms. Stanford? With 5 present, 2 absent, we have a quorum.
Thank you. And Ms. Chavez has arrived, I see, so thank you. Thank you. We will now take a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. At the start of each board meeting, we remember that the mission of Rockford Public Schools is to collaboratively engage all students in an equitable first-class education for a changing world. And we also want to thank Kim Pedersen and Aaron Hill, who are working behind the scenes to produce the broadcast, the board's broadcast via YouTube live stream and Comcast Channel 20. And we would also like to welcome Superintendent's Student Advisory Council member, Mylene Tavares Hernandez from Jefferson High School. And we will now recognize and celebrate outstanding contributions in the district, and Ms. Stephanie Pearson will be leading us in that.
Good evening. We are excited to honor our PS 205's outstanding staff, students, and coaches to celebrate their great achievements. After you hear your name or team called, please come forward and make your way through the inner circle to shake hands with the school board members and superintendent's cabinet. You will then proceed to the hallway where you will receive a certificate and either your patch or pin and have an opportunity for photographs. Please hold your applause until the end. We apologize in advance if we pronounce any names incorrectly. Congratulations to Jefferson High School senior, Micaiah Garrity. Micaiah was recognized as the City of Rockford's 2026 Youth Poet Laureate. She will promote literacy and literature among residents of all ages. Micaiah is also the 2025 State Poetry Out Loud champion who competed at the national level. She placed second at the regional competition this year and will be competing at the state competition on March 2nd in Springfield. A multidisciplinary artist, Micaiah has a long-standing passion for poetry, visual art, theater, music, and dance. She plans to attend college and explore a future in education while continuing creative pursuits. Jefferson athlete Lucas Marinelli punched his ticket to the IHSA state finals for boys bowling with a 1,376 series, 229 average at sectionals. Lucas finished 21st overall at state with 2,573 series on day 2. What a postseason performance on the lanes. We also want to recognize his coach, Alex Shaver, for his guidance and leadership. Way to represent the Jayhawks on the state stage, you two. And last, but certainly not least, I'm not sure if he's here, but I'm going to read it anyways. Constance Lane Elementary Dean Mitch Wilson was honored with the Aspiring Leader Award at the Illinois Principals Association Keshwaukee Region Awards Ceremony. The Aspiring Leader Award is a prestigious recognition that celebrates emerging leaders who show strong potential, dedication, and commitment to positive change in their schools and communities. It honors individuals whose early accomplishments signal a bright future in educational leadership. The person who submitted the award nomination for Mr. Wilson said, quote, "Mitch's leadership centers on belonging, joy, and the belief that every child deserves to be seen, heard, and celebrated. Mitch is the founder of Soka Umoja, an after-school positive behavior and leadership program designed to bridge cultural differences between school expectations and Swahili-speaking immigrant families. Currently pursuing his administrative licensure through NIU, Mitch Wilson is not just an inspiring leader, he is a catalyst for joy, connection, and community in one of Rockford's most resilient schools." Congratulations, everyone. Let's give them a big round of applause. So you may proceed out into the hallway where you receive your certificates and or pins and patches, and an opportunity for photographs. Thank you so much for coming. Have a good evening.
Thank you. We're now moving on to the petitions and communications portion of our meeting, where we invite the public to make comments. The comments are governed by Board Policy 2.230, which states that at each regular and special open meeting, the members of the public and district employees may comment on or ask questions of the board, subject to reasonable constraints and for a total period of time not to exceed 30 minutes. The individuals appearing before the board are expected to follow these guidelines. Number one, address the board only at the appropriate time as indicated on the agenda and when recognized by the board president. Number two, identify himself or herself by name and address optional. Ordinarily, such comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. However, at the start of the public participation period of the meeting, the board president may shorten public comment to conserve time and give the maximum number of individuals an opportunity to speak. Number three, conduct oneself with respect and civility towards others and abide by Board Policy 8.30, which is visitors to and conduct on school property. Number four, requirements for the public comment section are that it's limited to 30 minutes. No person may speak more than 3 minutes, and speakers may not yield their time to other individuals. Requests for speaking time must be submitted on designated cards and turned into the designated staff. Cards will be accepted until 10 minutes prior to the scheduled beginning of the meeting. Person must indicate on the card the issue they intend to address and whether they will speak for or against the issue. The speaking order will be determined by subject and order of cards received. The same issue may not be addressed a second time until the opposite side on that subject has been heard. No subject may be spoken on a second time until all subjects have been addressed at least one time. And the person speaking is responsible to limit comments to the issue indicated on their card or be declared out of order by the board president, which requires the speaker to lose the remainder of their speaking time. Number five, the board president shall have authority to determine procedural matters regarding public participation, not otherwise defined in board policy. Number six, the board will not respond to comments at the time of the board meeting. Comments requiring a response shall be the responsibility of the superintendent. Petitions or written correspondence to the board shall be presented to the board at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. To ensure compliance with fire and safety regulations, the following rules will be enforced. Number one, all members of the audience shall remain seated during the meeting, except when recognized to address the Board of Education. And number two, when all public seating is exhausted, no further visitors will be allowed to enter the meeting room. Slurs, profanity, and harassment will not be tolerated. If a speaker uses such unacceptable language, they may be directed to immediately surrender the remainder of their speaking time and may be restricted from public comment in the future. It's not appropriate to discuss matters that would otherwise be confidential in open meetings. On the left, there are two digital clocks. One shows the total time allotted to public comments, and one shows the total time for each speaker. We thank you for your cooperation with our guidelines. Our first speaker is Faye Marcus, who's speaking in support of Rockford Women's Suffrage Plaza.
Women's. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. My name is Faye Marcus, and I'm here to talk to you about the Rockford Women's Suffrage Plaza. That is an art piece that is located at 200 Y Boulevard, next to the YMCA. This is a mosaic sculpture, a community project, and a visual representation of local and national history of voting rights for women and all people. It emphasizes the importance of voting and the roles of local and national women who were suffragists and civil rights leaders. The sculpture was designed by artist Susan Burton and was created by over 200 local people in 2020 and 2021, celebrating the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage. We have created a 42-page activity book, which all of you have. It's called Piece by Piece, and it tells the story of the plaza and its construction. The activity book also contains puzzles, word searches, a glossary, a suffrage timeline, and biographies of local and national suffragists and activists. Our steering committee offers talks in the classroom with illustrations or on site at the plaza. Teachers in history and art classes can also use the activity book as part of lessons on the importance of voting, women in history, and mosaic art. Activity books are available by contacting Barbara Simon or Martha Burns, and their emails are in your packet. The cost is $5 per book, or if 20 or more are purchased, they are $4 per book. Free tours with guide can be scheduled by email. We have an activity book, rec card, and bookmark for each of you in your packet. And we hope that you will share this with curriculum people in your district. We welcome the opportunity to talk to groups of students or adults in the classroom around a visit to the Rockford Women's Suffrage Plaza. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is, I think Haley, is it Brownier? It's speaking in support of Jackson Charter renewal.
Good evening. Can you guys hear okay? It's on. Do I just need to move it up? Better? Little? All right, my name is Haley Brackenier, and I manage the special education department at Jackson Charter. At the last board meeting, I spoke about the progress our school has made in meeting the needs of our diverse learners. I shared information about our new systems for tracking student data, improved parent communication, increased professional development, and our strengthening partnership with RPS. Today, I would like to focus on the student outcomes as a result of the changes we have made. On the reading NWEA assessment, our diverse learners have shown increasing growth this school year. Their average growth was 8 points from the fall assessment, and 42% met or exceeded their growth goals. The overall median reading growth is in the 33rd percentile for our diverse learners. 25% of our diverse learners scored above the 60th percentile for growth. Our median growth percentile increased by 10 percentiles when compared to the winter of last year to the winter of this year. Our diverse learners showed exponential growth in math. Their average growth was 18 points from the fall assessment. 64% of diverse learners met or exceeded their growth goal. Their overall achievement percentile increased by 9 percentiles. The overall median growth is in the 61st percentile. Each grade level's growth is above the 40th percentile, with grades 3 through 5 being above the 54th percentile. In comparison to our growth from the fall of 2024 to our growth this school year, we have increased our median growth by 49 percentiles. Our students' growth over the last year and a half is a result of intentional, targeted, and data-driven changes. Our turnaround as Dr. Wren stated 2 weeks ago, we are in the stabilization phase. Our turnaround initiatives have yielded more dedicated staff members and higher quality instruction. A 5-year renewal cycle will allow our staff to thoroughly embed these initiatives and best practices into their classrooms. The growth we have seen with new staff members learning our curriculums and our new initiatives is amazing. Imagine the growth we will see with consistency and stability over 5 years. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next speaker is Elizabeth Ulrich, who's speaking in support of a fair REA contract.
I am so hopeful that best case, we will ratify the contract and avoid a strike. If we do, please know this contract is only 3 years, and the first year is nearly already over. Truly, 2 years from now, in February 2028 or March 1st at the latest, negotiations will begin again. 2 short years. The tactics that have been used in this process have included misleading information, threats to deprive Rockford students of precious classroom learning days, and a whole lot of disrespect. 2 short years from now, show us a different way to negotiate. We already have so much difficulty hiring and retaining talent, so please, please, cut out the showmanship, posturing, or whatever it is. I've learned a lot about our district while attending these board meetings. I heard so much enthusiasm from the board when Dr. Hull's hire was approved. It is clear that you wholeheartedly endorse him and hired him with so much excitement about our near future. During one of these meetings, I heard some board members talk about a training and how much they learned. The excitement was very evident. At the January COW meeting, I watched Conklin's presentation, and I want my school to do whatever they have done to decrease chronic truancy. It is wonderful. I didn't come to board meetings to learn these things. It was just a wonderful bonus. I want to be able to do my job and to do it well. If we all work together, we can each do our part to make our district and all 42 Rockford schools places with great support for students of diverse backgrounds and learning needs. But it takes working together, not scare tactics, misleading statements, or a level of disrespect that is so hard to tolerate. I've seen evidence of goodwill from the board. Please extend that goodwill to us as we wrap up this process and as we look 2 years in the future at the next round of negotiations.
Thank you. Our next speaker is John Tack Brantley, who's speaking in support of Black History Month.
Good evening, board members. My name is Brother John Tack Brantley. I'm the CEO of Renewal Turning Point Program. I got a BA in Social Justice and Physical Education at a grade point average of 3.85. I got a master's degree in cross-culture and race relations. In that cross-culture and race relations class, there was over 60 different ethnic groups that was in that classroom. We learned from each other more than what that instructor was teaching out that classroom. My grade point average was an A+, and getting a master in cross-culture and relations. But the best degree that I have is I got a doctorate and a PhD when it comes to these streets. If you don't know nothing about these streets, all you is just an educated individual. What I just don't understand, right here in Rockford, back in 1972, the Supreme Court voted 9-0 for West Middle School, and the subject was talking about ethnic studies, black minority, administrators, and teachers. Back in '89, West High School, the same exact thing went to the federal court. We won in the federal court. We got Barber School, Elder School, Reese School, Lewis Remnant. What school flourished behind that lawsuit was Barber School. I commend them on that. That's a beautiful thing when the Hispanics got together. Only had 29 youth to be suspended. I was here at that board meeting. I was listening at them, how some of the students came back and started teaching at that school, how they teach, when you walk in that school, they teach Hispanic. You speak Hispanic. You don't speak English, and then they teach their history. I asked Dr. Reed. It wasn't an insult to Dr. Reed, but I asked the question, the brothers and sisters for change. What, and y'all gonna start making the change. What changes have you made? Don't get upset with me when I question about, y'all put up a sign. Board members, do you have an office for us to walk in to talk to y'all? No, you don't. And you go to the city hall, you go to the Winnebago County Board meeting, you're able to talk to your board members. Y'all are elected officials, the teachers and carrying on. Y'all represent us. In order for the brothers and sisters for changes to make progress, they got to work with the community. I work with several different schools. I'm transporting kids that otherwise wouldn't be able to go to school if I wasn't there transporting them. I called for a meeting with Dr. Reed, email him, phone him, and what have you. I still want to have that meeting, get understanding. We went to the Underground Railroad. Every year we were provided with a school bus to go to the Underground Railroad. This year, we was not provided with a school bus, but we went there anyway. We can't depend on the system to look out for us. We have to look out for ourselves. That's the only thing that's going to be able to save our future generation by looking out for our
Thank you. Your time's expired. Next speaker is Elizabeth Hand, who will be speaking in support of data-driven budget decisions.
Yay. Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Hand, and I am the instructional coach at McIntosh Elementary School. Over the past several years, McIntosh has experienced incredible transformation, and it didn't happen by accident. At a time when teacher retention is a national concern, our stability has improved significantly. Not long ago, our retention rate was around 50%. Today, it holds at 76%, and currently every certified classroom teacher plans to return next year. Our only anticipated turnover involves positions filled by long-term substitutes. That stability matters because then student outcomes follow. Last spring, McIntosh demonstrated the most growth in the entire district on IAR, and we moved from intensive to targeted. That progress reflects real change in performance and culture. This growth happened because of intentional leadership and a deliberate decision to invest our building funds, both Title and Fund 10, into people. Those people include our teachers, our interventionists, and our support staff. These individuals who build the relationships that make the children feel safe enough to learn. Dr. Jarrett has been very public about the district's financial challenges and the likelihood of necessary reductions. I recognize these decisions will be difficult. However, how those reductions happen matter. Not every school is the same. In our classrooms, we differentiate, we assess, we progress monitor, adjust instruction based on data and student need. I respectfully ask that your budget decisions reflect that same mindset. Each school has its own trajectory and data story. Blanket cuts treat all schools the same, regardless of progress or momentum. A data-informed, differentiated approach would protect strategies that are already producing measurable results. Tonight, I'm wearing our shirt our principal gave us that says, "Our stripes tell our story." These stripes represent resilience, growth, and the work it took to get us here. They remind us of where we've been and how far we've come. Behind every percentage point of growth is a child who is wearing their stripes of success and writing their story. Thoughtful, data-driven, responsible budget decisions will protect the conditions that made our progress possible and will allow students across the district to continue moving forward. Please help us ensure that their story continues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Hannah King, who will be speaking in support of Guilford Model United Nations.
Good evening, Honorable Board. My name is Hannah King, and I stand before you as a delegate and as the president of Guilford's Model United Nations Club. I am here today in concern of the processes and procedures for ensuring student safety, specifically with regards to the Transportation Department and what occurred with our Model UN Club on February 8th, 2026, when there was no bus scheduled to drive us home. Model UN is a club where students study and debate global issues based on the topics and committees within the United Nations. On February 5th through 8th, we traveled to the Model United Nations Conference at the University of Chicago, otherwise known as Munich. Our club has been preparing and raising money for Munich since the beginning of the school year. During the conference, we had 15 members compete across 12 different committees against roughly 2,500 students from across the globe. My vice president and I had the privilege of working alongside many esteemed delegates in the Disarmament and International Security Committee, focusing on topics related to AI weapons. We all spent countless hours drafting multiple 10-plus page resolutions over the course of our time in Chicago. I hope that this displays the level of commitment required on our end to compete and do well within this conference. We take preparation and performance in the conference very seriously, and we were disappointed to find out that the district does not. We submitted all paperwork for this field trip on time and received approval. We had 2 confirmation emails from our travel times and dates. Through email correspondence, we were told the trip and times would work if we made it back to Guilford by 1:30 p.m. on Sunday, February 8th. It took about an hour from when we were supposed to leave to get us a phone number to a weekend supervisor. When we heard that there was no bus en route, we felt overwhelmed with confusion and disappointment. We were left without a hotel room, without a budget for food, and our fundraiser money was not planned for additional meals. The lack of organization also required us to miss the conference closing ceremony and possible award recognition for our delegates. Due to this inconvenience, we had several students miss family events, work, and celebrations. I would also like to call attention to the fact that our esteemed advisor dedicated her entire weekend to us, including the days leading up to the conference. We believe that it is extremely unfair to not only the students, but also our advisor, families, and the weekend transportation supervisor who spent over half an hour calling bus drivers to see who could pick us up in the heart of Chicago. We are very grateful for the help from our principal, Mr. Carter, who helped us get a hold of the transportation department and for agreeing to reimburse our unexpected food costs. The purpose of my speech today is to ensure that no future students are left behind because of administrative negligence. The shock we felt when we were told that our field trip wasn't even on the books is something no student should have to feel again. We are also in disbelief that neither us or parents nor our advisor have been contacted with any sort of apology or explanation to what had happened. I believe student travel and safety should be of higher priority than what was displayed at the end of our committee. I yield my time to the board and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Emily Tran, who's speaking in support of Jackson Charter School.
Good evening. My name is Emily Tran, and I'm an instructional leader at Jackson Charter School. 2 weeks ago, I spoke to the board about the systems that we have been building to support sustainable learning and growth. Since that time, our middle of the year testing window has wrapped up, and I wanted to return to share an updated data and explain why progress matters as you consider our renewal cycle. Our winter NWEA benchmark showed continued evidence that the systems we have implemented are producing measurable growth. In reading, our school-wide median percentile increased by 2 from last year. In this growth, we are seeing 39% of students demonstrate growth above the 61st percentile when compared to last year of 30%. We are also seeing movement in the higher achievement bands, with an additional 2% of students performing in the top achievement band when compared to last year. In math, the median growth percentile is at the 40th percentile, and 29% of students are growing above the 61st percentile. This shows our continued progress as instructional practices and curriculum alignment strengthen. To highlight progress in specific grade levels, we have seen first grade demonstrate strong growth with multiple students showing double-digit gains in both math and reading. In 5th grade, over 60% of students met or exceeded their projected growth goals. Our interventions are producing meaningful results as well. Our Tier 2 Power Hour is showing that 65% of students demonstrate measurable growth in writing from the beginning of the year to now. In foundational skills, 85% of students showed growth in at least one skill set from the beginning of the year. Our academics are not the only things improving. Our daily attendance increased from 78% last year to 91% this year. Our families and students are dedicated to showing stronger engagement and commitment to Jackson. To highlight our spring IAR growth gains, we saw our approaching category of students triple in 1 year. Last year, 15% of students were in the approaching category. 4 years ago, it was 5% of students. But this spring, we had 45% of students rate approaching. This happens when schools have time to build strong systems and allow the growth trends to compound into student achievement scores. A 5-year renewal cycle should provide the stability needed to continue strengthening these systems, like our MTSS framework, deepen our instructional practices, and continue moving Jackson in the right direction. Thank you for your time and your partnership with us.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Christina McGee, who is speaking in support of teachers.
Just last week, my colleagues and I took the 5 Essential survey regarding staff working conditions. This had me reflecting on the results from our past staff engagement surveys and the story that this data tells about the Rockford Public Schools. On the staff engagement survey administered during the 23-24 school year, employees' feedback scored the Rockford Public Schools with a Net Promoter Score of -51. The Net Promoter Score in a school system is used to gauge word-of-mouth marketing based on the response to just one question. On a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend our school system to a friend or colleague? A good Net Promoter Score is defined as anything above a 60. So let me repeat. During the 23-24 school year, the Net Promoter Score for the Rockford Public Schools was a -51. This score was not an anomaly. For all of the years that this format of survey was given, the Net Promoter Score ranged from a -51 to as high as a -45. Again, a good score is anything above a +60. I have come before you recently discussing the staffing crisis that we are currently experiencing in our classrooms. We have 350 secondary staff doing forced overtime daily because we can't recruit enough teachers for our classrooms. We have over 70 classroom vacancies because we can't retain teachers for our classrooms. This staffing crisis is not new, and it is because the leadership of this district has ignored the factors that staff have been shouting about for years. Just go back and look at the results of your surveys, or look at the surveys that the REA provided to the district as recently as October and January. In the October REA survey, 50% of our educators reported actively seeking employment elsewhere, with 21% already applying outside the district. 45% of our educators are considering leaving the profession entirely. Additionally, RPS loses 50% of new hires within their first 5 years. When will you listen to the experts doing the work on the front line? If you keep doing what you've been doing, our staffing crisis will only continue to escalate. It's time that this Board of Education holds the leadership of the Rockford Public Schools accountable for creating an environment that will attract and retain the high-quality educators that our students and community deserves.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Treasurer Grant, speaking in support of Jackson Charter School renewal.
Excuse me, just one second. That's not safe. Let's put her down or over on the side, and we can hold this so she can talk, okay? You good with that? All right, come on, stand over here. Just stand right here, and you can talk into the microphone, okay?
Thank you, sir.
We'll just pull this out of here.
Ready?
My name is Treasure Grant, and I am parent of Nylasia Davis, a student at Jackson Charter School. She has attended Jackson Charter School since her kindergarten year because of a dedication of the teachers and program. My child's social skills, math, and reading skills have improved every day. My daughter looks forward to coming to a school every day. I strongly support Jackson Charter School renewal because it is a safe and nurturing place that helps our kids. Thank you for listening and continuing to support our community by renewing our charter. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Our next speaker is Stephanie Riley, who will be speaking in support of RPS educators.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie, and I'm standing here in front of you as a 205 alum and also as a parent of someone that has a student in a middle school here. I'm standing here to support our teachers who are responsible for our children's education. I could stand here and talk about the statistics that have been going on, or the snide remarks that have been made recently in other board meetings, or the lack of interest this board has shown over the contract negotiations. But I'm here tonight to talk to you about the value of our teachers, who are responsible for leading our future. Our teachers are an elongated version of our arms, as every parent. We as parents drop our kids off at school or drop them off at a bus stop, and we are entrusting this staff to teach our children, keep them safe, make them feel encouraged, loved, and supported. For 8 hours a day, we as parents want them to be us for our children. We entrust the teachers to make the right choices for our children when we are not present. In the Rockford Public School mission, it says, engage all students in equitable first-class education. But how can we do this for our students when our teachers, our first line, they're not being compensated for furthering their education. They're not being compensated for working without equal pay. They're not being compensated for all the extra time and hours they are spending with their students to help them in the areas that they're struggling in. This board started the idea of the social emotional approach, and they asked that it's been implemented in our schools. The basis of that approach is building resilience, fostering positive relationships, and improving the school's climate through restorative practices and structured frameworks. But how, as a district, are you using these approaches with your staff? Currently, our teachers are working without contracts. They're also teachers who have furthered their education without being compensated. They're teachers who spend their own finance to encourage further education with visuals in their classrooms. These are teachers that have second and third jobs, just being able to support their own families. I leave you here with 2 questions. 1, as a parent yourselves, what is your child's safety, well-being, and education worth? And 2, how can you expect that social emotional approach to be used within the classroom when you guys are not using it between you and the teachers? Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you. Then our last speaker is Ebony McIntosh, speaking in support of Jackson Charter School renewal. And you'll have the full 3 minutes.
Good evening, you guys. Just as just stated, my name is Ebony McIntosh, and I'm not only a staff member with Jackson Charter School, but I'm also a parent of 2 children who are both in kindergarten and 3rd grade. I'm speaking wearing 2 hats as both the parent and an employee here, and I believe that it gives me a unique and honest perspective. As a parent, I just don't drop my children off at school here. I trust the school with their safety, their growth, and their future. I see the way teachers know students by name, understand their needs, and show up for them not just academically, but emotionally. My child feels seen here, supported here, and that matters more than anything or any test score that you guys could speak of. As an employee, I see the dedication behind the scenes. I see staff going above and beyond, often with limited resources, because we genuinely care about our students and their families. This school is not just a workplace, it's a community that believes every child deserves consistency, compassion, and opportunity. Renewing Jackson Charter School means preserving a place where students are more than numbers and families are true partners. It means continuing a mission that is clearly working for the children who need it most. For my family and so many others, Jackson is not just a school, it's a lifeline, it's a family, and I strongly urge you to renew it. Thank you guys and have a good night.
Thank you. All right, thank you. We're now moving on to item 4, the Planning and Development Committee. Item 4A was pulled for tonight, and so we'll be moving on to item 4B, which is the 2026-2027 Student Code of Conduct. May I have a motion and a second to approve item 4B, the 2026-2027 Student Code of Conduct?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, thank you. Seeing no discussion, can you please call the roll for item 4B, 2026-2027 Student Code of Conduct?
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4C, which is a Handle with Care update, which will be presented by Ms. Amy Gannon.
Good evening. I'm Amy Gannon, and I'm the Executive Director of MTSS for Rockford Public Schools. And tonight I get the honor and privilege to talk to you a little bit of a sliver of a piece around our social emotional learning, which is our Handle with Care initiative. So to start off with, just to give some background, I wanted to talk a little bit about what is Handle with Care. And so Handle with Care is a trauma-informed practice used in RPS 205 in conjunction with the city of Rockford, to support students who may have experienced a potentially traumatic event outside of school, and most often it's involving the law enforcement. What's important to know about that is once we receive a notification that's triggered a Handle with Care, it's to understand kind of what is our internal processes here in Rockford Public Schools. And so once a notification comes in, we've worked really hard to make sure that each building gets an automated report emailed to the Handle with Care team on a daily basis. And so each building can define what is part of their Handle with Care. And so what we originally started with was our school social workers and most likely a building admin. But currently we've expanded that because a lot of times staff may be out, and we want to make sure that Handle with Care on a regular basis and on a daily basis is being reviewed, and the support is put in place in real time. So some of the staff members you can see there are social workers, counselors, MTSS, SEL facilitators, the building admin, and again, those range between 3 to 6 staff members. Each of the buildings also of this Handle with Care team are responsible with said task for making sure we follow up with those notifications. And some of those tasks might be notifying the staff who serve the student, so making sure we email out with a generated email of, to the staff that serves, like, so that they were talking about the teachers on a regular basis. Could be the classroom teacher, could be special ed resource in the middle schools and high schools, could be your, 6 classes you have per day. We also make sure that we update Panorama. So in Panorama, we have a specific support note in there that says referral, handle with care referral to MTSS. And we also make sure that those students are put on our MTSS agenda to make sure they're talked about and reviewed in terms of their Panorama data. And then to include a little bit of the internal process, here's a little bit of some flow charts that our buildings have put together. So what you see here is Jefferson High School and East High School have kind of put a flow chart so that their building staff know school-wide kind of how, once those handle with cares come in on a daily basis, what is that flow chart, or how do we process those, and what is our follow-up in terms of making sure the students get the support they need daily, but also over time as well. So I thought that was important for you guys to see here as well. The other piece that's really important is how we progress monitor the data with Handle with Care. So what's important to know is when we first started this process, it was a lot of groundwork that needed to be laid with the city of Rockford and the IT department here on how those we automate that information coming in daily. What we have upgraded to is that we receive those automated reports now directly to the emails of the people who are on the Handle with Care teams. And those Handle with Care teams are defined by those building leaders. Before, what used to happen is the report would generate in the background of eSchool, and then those certain individuals could go in there and pull it down. Now it gets automated daily to their email. The other piece is, as the report comes to the email, it's in an Excel file. And it's important to note that the Excel file is just generating the most recent Handle with Cares to the top every day. And so there might be multiple Handle with Cares for one particular student, and that's really hard for the staff member to kind of filter through those Excel sheets every day. And so what we've done is we already have what's called an MTSS B workbook. And so we just kind of approved here the student code of conduct, but the MTSS B is a code that's in the student code of conduct that indicates that for every level 3 that a behavior coach, which is part of the MTSS department, connects with the MTSS team to go over and set up an intervention plan with their support if they're struggling on what types of interventions to do. But because this has already been built into our process and how we review those workbooks, we've also inserted some Handle with Care data in there, because it's really important to note that Handle with Care notifications should not be looked at in isolation to other things such as behavior, academics, social emotional well-being, and attendance. So since they're already in there, they're used to looking at it through the MTSSB and the teams. They're looking at those sometimes daily because they're automating, they're filtering in there on a regular basis. And so daily they're reviewing them, but then kind of bi-weekly, they'll also be alongside their behavior coaches being able to look at that data. And so what you see here is inside the workbook, not only are they able to now look at their overall building-based Handle with Care data, but they're also on that second sheet there that's blurred out is the individual student level data. So that indicates for the building who the student is, when's the most recent Handle with Care that came in, how many Handle with Cares they've had, and they also have some demographical information alongside, do they have a panorama plan, and then also when was the most recent behavior incident that may correlate to the Handle with Care. So tonight what we're going to look at is some district-wide data. We have our overall Handle with Cares. We're going to look at our district data from a grade level, a school level, race and ethnicity, gender. We're going to look at how many of those students have current panorama plans, and then we're just going to look at some of the key findings and next steps that we might need to take from this data. So overall, currently right now, we have about 3.7% or 1,049 students district-wide that have had at least one Handle with Care. And although that seems small and mighty in comparison to the size of our districts, that's 3.7% students that we can early intervene with now that we have this Handle with Care initiative and notification coming in daily. The other piece that's really important, and you'll see me talk about this again, is students who have 2 or more handle with cares. This is really, really important, and this is where we're gonna start highlighting, and I started already highlighting with the handle with care teams on knowing, hey, yes, maybe you got 1, but now you have 2, and from there on you could have 3 or 4 or 5. We need to maybe really set up an intervention plan. Maybe on the first handle with care, we didn't see any other indication to start that, but once you receive 2 or more, we need to focus on that. And now because we have that individual data where we can look at each student in the building and how many they have or how many they're accumulating, we can dig in right away in providing that support. So you can see here that 20.1% or 195 students have had 2 or more handle with care notifications, and then we break that down by elementary, middle school, high school, and special programs. You can notice there that 25.4%, or at the high school level, you're seeing kind of the highest level of 2 or more handle with cares. Here's the breakdown of race and ethnicity. So you can see that white makes up 19.8, 2 or more races 10.5, 0.3 for Middle Eastern or North African, our Black or African American 48.6, and our Hispanic or Latino 20.2. Here's the breakdown by the level: elementary, middle school, high school, special programs. You can see high school again is making up about half of our handle with cares. Here's by grade level. So if you want to dig deeper, so when we look at elementary, middle, and high, now here you can see that we're within the high, if that's half of our handle with cares, between 9th, 10th, and 11th or 12th grade. And so you can see 9th grade is our highest handle with care notifications. And that has seemed to be trending from when I took over the handle with care last time. So 9th grade seems to be a continuous higher percentage of handle with cares. And then gender, you can see, is split pretty evenly between male and female. And here's kind of the breakdown of panorama plans. So about half or more are receiving intervention support. Each of the handle with cares, like I said before, are required to be reviewed or talked about with their building MTSS teams. However, not all handle with cares deem an intervention. So it doesn't necessarily mean, because that's a private piece, that once we get the handle with care, we do not know the details of what happened outside of the school building. So sometimes they might say, hey, let's put that, they've got 1 handle with care, panoramas, behavior, attendance, and grades looks good right now. We'll keep them on monitor. But the 2+ handle with cares referrals are now, they require revisiting. It's a must revisit and setting up a support plan, because now we've seen more than 1 handle with care, and there needs to be some level of support happening there. So here's some highlights of our district-wide data and some ideas and suggestions about where we need to go deeper. Our systems of care and support are vital. So the staff who provide all of those supports when we do get notifications of handle with cares fall within those MTSS, and those ancillary supports that I mentioned earlier are vital to the handle with care notification initiative. Monitoring the data alongside some of the other factors support the next steps for wraparound supports for students. Our community partnerships are crucial, and you'll see that on the last slide on who we are partnering with. And then building relationships. So because handle with care doesn't give details, which is always the biggest feedback that we always get, like I really wish I knew what had happened, that's not what that's intended for. It's really supposed to be a trauma-informed practice, and therefore just knowing that information helps us understand how to support that student or treat that student with care for the next day, for the full day, for a week, for a couple weeks, for months. It depends on what type of support they need. But the most important thing is building those relationships, because once you build those relationships with the students, you're able to, once you know some of that background information, get them to the care and the support and the people So trusting relationships for that family, student, and school staff is really important, because when you don't know why they're getting handled with cares, but when you begin to build those relationships, you might be able to know a little bit more, and that drives you to align the care of support. And then the highlights that need a deeper review. Our 9th grade, like I said, continues to remain higher than most other grade levels. So what can we do to intervene there and talk about that as a district? Our African American population seems to have a higher level of handle with cares, as you saw. And so ideas that I have coming out of this, since we're able to like now get this data funneled in a way that moves to action, was really kind of generating something to get to Dr. Reed for those brothers and sisters for change, because obviously the wraparound support for students who are receiving handle with cares that are happening outside the building may have a correlation to mentoring and support they might need. And then the other piece that we didn't really talk about specifically, but is important to note here, is 30% of referrals that we receive are students with IEPs. And so that's really important. So connecting with our special education department and really talking about how do you connect those handle with care notifications aligned to, let's say, the case manager or the special education team, so that they can maybe revisit and talk about that student, knowing that they already have an IEP and what other things and supports the family or the student may need. And then lastly, I would be remiss if I did not talk about the amount of community partnerships, and this is just a scratch at the surface, that we're able to partner with that helps refer out and inside. So for many of you, if you don't know, we have Rosecrans Behavioral Health student assistant personnel in our middle schools and high schools that are housed there every day. They're part of that school community. They're open to services that are provided by all of Rosecrans, so that helps in referring. I would be remiss to say, without City of Rockford and the mayor's office and the Rockford Police Department and getting this off the ground, but also Andrea Carlson and Jennifer Catchpalia, like they sit with me on this data all the time, and we talk about what are we going to do next. Laura Kane with Marshmallow's Hope. Tomorrow I will be out doing site visits again. We'll have been to 37 schools by the time I'm done. So we've had a great partnership in providing support there. And then we've done the teen dating violence services and series, and you can see all the people that we've partnered with to provide some teen dating violence education series for our counselors, mental health providers, and SEL supports and MTSS supports in the building. So with that, that's the end of my presentation, and so I will take any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, I guess nobody, I'll just ask a quick question. Since you don't get any information on what caused the handle with care notification to come in, I know you probably, and you kind of alluded to this, I guess, but is there any, like, do you have any information on why 9th grade is so high compared to other grades, I guess?
Actually, the City of Rockford and Andrea and I were talking about that because she brought up 9th grade because that was previously identified in that, and so we're going to plan some time to like dig deeper. The other piece in terms of identifying, because we do, a lot of our teachers and staff in the building have really great relationships. Sometimes they actually may or may not know some reasoning behind the handle with care. And so I've gotten a lot of questions of like, why was this a handle with care versus why didn't, I know this happened, I didn't receive one. And so we're also working with the Rockford Police Department, the City of Rockford, to identify the types of handle with cares they're submitting. So for example, we talked about recently, like, you know, what, is it a class A type felony or class X type of thing that might allude why they're handled with care, which is different than, you know, some other reason. So they're going to put together a little key for our district of like, what is the City of Rockford Police Department submitting handle with cares for, so we have a better understanding. So it's not going to give details of what that is. And then in terms of the 9th grade, I'm not really sure. I'd have to dig deeper into specifically some ninth grade pieces, but it's hard to correlate. What I can tell you that there is a correlation to the 2+ or the time that they're getting them, and also being married with some of the other pieces such as behavior, incidents, or referrals. So I think that since there's a correlation, the sooner we can act on it, the better we are for the longevity of the student being able to access school environment.
All right, thank you. Ms. McCall?
Thank you, Mr. President. A quick question that just popped up is, as far as with those ninth graders or any of the students who have the handle with care, I don't know what to call it. Has there been any correlation or any monitoring as far as the discipline, like the amount of referrals given, like any follow-up either before, leading up to, or after one is issued a handle with care? Like, what does that look like?
In terms of like care, what I can tell you though is right now, because we're able to pull this data down and look at it a little bit deeper than we were in the past, what I can tell you is 2 weeks in front of a handle with care and 2 weeks after is mostly correlated with some sort of discipline referral or another level of need. So I think that paying attention to that more will help us be more proactive in the type of intervention supports that we should be providing.
Thank you.
Ms. Haley?
Just to kind of piggyback off of that, the handle care notifications that you receive, are they all justice involved? Do you have any that you receive that may deal with other situations that are not justice involved?
So because we don't have details, I can only tell you that if a feedback from the field around if they know a student or not is why we are asking more clarifying questions. So what I'm saying is I don't really know the answer, but based off of the feedback I'm getting, it seems maybe some think it could be, for example, you know, a car was broken into versus they had a fire. Some we get a handle with care, some we don't. So that's kind of the piece that we're working on now, is just to get really clear, because I think we are all seeing some inconsistencies, or the field thinks they should have got one, but maybe that doesn't constitute a handle with care, if that makes sense.
All right, any other questions? Thank you very much for the presentation. It's very informative.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to item 5, which is the consent agenda for the Performance and Monitoring Committee. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in section 5?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any consent items in section 5 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. We're now moving on to item 6, which is action items that proceeded through the Planning and Development Committee. Item 6A is transfer from working cash fund to capital projects fund. May I have a motion and a second to approve item 6A?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, can you please call the roll?
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6B, which is resolution and intergovernmental agreement for property transfer to the Rockford Park District for the Bloom Park Playground Project. Can I have a motion and a second for item 6B?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. Moving to item 6C, which is the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Rockford for site logistics work at Lincoln Middle School. Can I have a motion and a second to approve item 6C?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Would you please call the roll? Actually, is there any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll? Okay. Yes, if you could please call the roll. Thank you.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 7, which is the Planning and Development Committee consent portion of our meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items in section 7?
So moved.
Second.
And thank you. And for the record, the section 7 items are, it's just item 7B. Item 7A was pulled. So can I have,
Just,
oh, excuse me.
oh, I'll go ahead and clarify that.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the consent agenda item in section 7, which is really only item 7B.
Okay, gotcha.
And can you please call the roll?
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8, which is action items that proceeded through the Governance Committee. 8A is Board Policy 5.90, Abused and Neglected Child Reporting. Can I have a motion and a second to approve item 8A?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. Moving on to items 8B, Board Policy 5.300, Educational Support Personnel, Schedules, and Employment Year. Can I have a motion and a second for 8B?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. Item 8C is Board Policy 6.20, School Year Calendar and Day. Can I have a motion and a second to approve 8C?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Can you please call the roll?
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. Item 8D is Board Policy 6.60, Curriculum Content. Can I have a motion and a second to approve item 8D?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8E, which is Board Policy 6.300, Graduation Requirements. Can I have a motion and a second to approve 8E?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8F, which is Board Policy 7.70, Attendance and Truancy. Can I have a motion and a second to approve item 8F?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Can you please call the roll?
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8G, which is Board Policy 7.190, Student Discipline. Can I have a motion and a second for item 8G?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Moving on to item 8H, which is Board Policy 7.290, Suicide and Depression Awareness and Prevention. Can I have a motion and a second to approve item 8H?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Ms. Bennett?
In Diligent, when you click on it, it's 7.190, that's the attachment, not 7.290. Just for clarification, so it has the same policy as G listed for H as well.
Thank you. So did we get 7.290 at some point?
I brought it up at Committee of the Whole, and I didn't remember it till now, because it's listed in the same attachment, but I didn't go back and reopen the attachment, so.
Okay, thank you. So if, since we haven't seen that,
Or discussed it.
I would suggest that we
No.
Do we need to make a motion?
We need the person who made the motion and the person who seconded it to withdraw their motion, I think.
I withdraw my motion.
And the second.
Withdraw my second.
Thank you. All right, and so we'll pull item 8H from tonight, and we'll address it next month.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. All right, moving on to agenda item 9, which is the governance consent portion of our meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda items 9A and 9B?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any of those consent items in section 9 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. We're now moving on to the closed session consent items in section 10. Closed session consent items include item 10A, notice to remedy Danielle Perot. Item 10B, appointment of Tamara Butler as 12-month principal assigned to SOAR Academy. Item 10C, appointment of Jacob Rubin as 12-month staff attorney. Appointment of, item 10D, which is the HR organizational report. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in section 10, closed session consent?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any closed session consent items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. We're now moving on to item 11, which is student discipline, suspension, appeals, and expulsions. Item 11A is student P0039X-26, who would be expelled for 2 calendar years from the date of board action, which is February 17th, 2026 through February 16th, 2028. Item 11B is student P0040X-26, who would be expelled for 2 calendar years from the date of board action, which is February 17th, 2026 through February 16th, 2028. Item 11C, which is student P0041X-26, who would be expelled for 2 calendar years from date of board action, which is February 17th, 2026 through February 16th, 2028. 11D is student P0043X-26, who would be expelled for 2 calendar years from the date of board action, which is February 17th, 2026 to February 16th, 2028. Item 11E is student H0051X-26. That expulsion would be held in abeyance, contingent upon an expulsion in abeyance agreement for the remainder of the 2025-26 school year through the entire 2026-27 school year. Item 11F, P0048A-26, that suspension would be affirmed. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items in section 11, student expulsions and suspension appeals?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any of those items that board members would wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Moving on to agenda section 12, which is the closed session consent items for student discipline for EIAs. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in section 12, closed session consent items, student discipline EIAs?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 13, which is superintendent's report. Dr. Jarrett?
Yes, I would like to defer my comments to Maylin. The floor is yours.
All right. Hello, my name is Mylene Tavares Hernandez, and I am a junior attending Jefferson High School and Rock Valley College through the Running Start program. At the last committee board meeting during the public comment section, a senior at Guilford brought attention to the fact that Running Start students are being included in the class ranks after they were told that the individuals taking courses at RVC would not be. He claimed this to be unfair for reasons such as they have not attended the school since their sophomore year, they have not experienced the same schooling or environment, and all Running Start students' classes are weighted. When I was first going through the Running Start process, I was informed that my class rank would be dropped. The reasoning I was given for this was that it was unfair. I've always thought that it wasn't unfair, the main reasoning being that I worked hard to get to this position and have been given this opportunity. The requirements to get into Running Start are to have a 3.0 GPA or higher, complete 2 years of math and English with a B or higher for both semesters of 9th and 10th grade, complete chemistry with a B or higher by the end of 10th grade, and to pass the AccuPlacer test, which is a college placement test. Apart from meeting these qualifications, we also had to write an essay and go through an interview process. The students who went through all of this have worked hard to get to this point. There are only 20 students each year who get selected for this program across the district. All of these students have shown excellence through the years that they did attend their respected high schools. Lots of these students are high achieving and are still involved with their schools. I personally run for Jefferson, play soccer, and have just recently started a club there as well. I visit Jefferson every day, as I also decided to go back during the 8th hour to take an AP Spanish language course. As for my peers, I know they are also involved and return to the high school regularly. While we have not had the same experience regarding schooling or environment, we have had a higher chance of falling back, which would affect our class ranks. As we can all imagine, the change from high school to college is grand. Deadlines are more strict, there's not a teacher who's pushing you to do your work, and the course load, work, and material is more challenging and complex. For students, this may lead to struggles with trying to keep up with work, which I have dealt with firsthand. If those doing the Running Start program are able to keep up with their grades and continue to strive for better, they should be acknowledged and given the recognition they deserve for this. A solution for this problem may be to have 2 different rankings, one including Running Start students and one excluding them. We are still part of our high schools and work just as hard as those who aren't attending RBC. Running Start students are already isolated from their high schools by just taking up this opportunity. Why should we discredit the work they have put in and isolate them more? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melanie. That's all.
Thank you very much. We're now moving on to item 14, which is the item on the agenda to provide the opportunity for board member discussions. Are there any board member comments, action steps, other business, new business, agenda recommendation, or any other matters to discuss? Ms. McCall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to take time to acknowledge the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and just wanted to acknowledge that during my high school years at Auburn High School, he did come to Auburn High School, and I vividly remember sitting in the gym and him encouraging us students, every student in the what do you call it, gymnasium. I'm sorry, I got a cold too. You know, just to be to be their best selves and to be you know, great you know, humans. I remember reciting, you know, I am somebody, you know, keep hope alive and all that stuff. So I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. on today.
Thank you. Ms. Pearson.
Ditto what Mrs. McCall said. I think that given, unfortunately, Black History Month is the shortest month of the year, nonetheless, it really fuels me to think about what the pioneers went through for our civil rights. And every now and then we need to pause and remember many things came by way of the civil rights movement. So I certainly have deep appreciation for that. Next subject, different subject, is the graduation. So I understand, I actually need clarity because I don't understand. Is there a requirement for tickets for the graduation at the BMO? We're going to the BMO, and if so, why?
It was suggested across multiple different parties and stakeholders that got together in review of last year and a couple of unfortunate incidents that we have, that it would be a check on safety concerns if we told the students that we would provide them and their families 10 tickets each. However, we've also made it clear to the principals that if we do have a student or family that's asking for additional tickets beyond that 10, that we're able to do that for them too. So really it's just to make sure we don't have any random people getting dropped off at the corner of the BMO and just going into the event, which was something that happened last year. This way we can know everybody who's in BMO is supposed to be there because they had received a ticket.
So I just want to be clear. They will receive 10 tickets and is able to get is there a max on the tickets?
Not with the seating capacity we have at BMO.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, I do have one more.
Sure, go ahead.
Quick question. So I noticed when the charter schools presented, they were limited to 5 minutes. And I just would like an explanation as to why, because some appeared rushed, which interfered with their I noticed, you know, the rhythm was off. It was unique evening, I felt, at the last. So, and what can we do to allow them, other than public speaking? The reason why I'm asking is because it was an agenda item and for a presentation, and they had the same amount of time to speak in the committee of the whole as nearly as much for public speaking.
Board Member Pearson, the item was pulled, and so all that you would need to do is work with the committee chairs of that particular committee to talk about parameters you'd like to request. But we always work with speakers to have time constraints because there are a lot of people that need airtime in a really long, complex board meeting. So the limitation was put in place to make sure that we had a reasonable ending time to the business meeting. However, if there's a need for a longer period of time, the people to work through are whoever the committee chairs are.
Yeah, I understand that the item. I understand that the item was pulled. I understand that very much so. I just, and I'll be happy to speak with the committee chairs on that. I just kind of wanted to understand the why behind it. I appreciate it getting pulled and what it might look like going forward. So
I could also share.
I'll follow up with the committee chairs.
The template that we used for the deck for the slides they presented was exactly the same for what we use for any of our RPS 205 principals that present, and we give them the same advice that we gave the charter schools of recommending 5 to 7 minutes max, because we know the more meaningful dialogue is not the words that they're reading off of 3 or 4 slides, but the questions and answers that they're able to provide with board members.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Are there any other board member comments? I did want to echo what Ms. McCall and Ms. Pearson stated, that recognizing Black History Month, and especially on a day like today where we receive news that we've lost a giant in Black history. But I also wanted to, I think it's important to remember that we have Black history makers all around us in this district and in our community, and there's still a lot of history to be written and Black history to be written, and that I hope that our students know that and that they are our future history makers, and just kind of like the message that Ms. McCall received from Reverend Jackson. So,
I just want to say, you know, I'm a history maker too. So I was the first African American county clerk in 2018.
I recall.
So that's hence why I was wearing my shirt. So,
thank you. If there are no other board member comments, I would take a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. See you in 2 weeks at Auburn.